Now it will also start going live. Okay, here we go. I'll quickly just check that it's streaming correctly because sometimes it doesn't.
Hmm.
Yes. Okay, we're on. It's
Okay.
working. Everything's running in order. So, welcome everybody to She's of Love and Happy New Year. It's our first episode in 2025, which doesn't feel real to even say that, but um yeah, I'm very excited to have you on the show again, Michelle. I say it every time, but I really do mean it. It's just such a pleasure to have you and talk with you. And yeah, I feel very grateful for every single time that you're on. And I don't know, I just received so much, and you're very peaceful and like, I don't even know how to describe your energy. It's just like it brings so much peace. So thank you for coming on again.
Thank you for inviting me. I love being here. I'm laughing because you're talking about peace, and my dog is currently barking like crazy. So hopefully you can't hear him.
No, I can't.
Okay,
So,
good. He's not in peace right now. He is anxious.
well, that's okay. I understand. I think we're all in that kind of boat right now.
Apparently he's feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, first I'll just quickly address, so mum was unable to join this week, so it will just be
Mhm.
us two, which
Mhm.
is really cool. I don't do this
Yeah.
very often where it's just one on one. So,
I think the
um,
last time it was just you and I also.
yes, and that was the only other
Yeah.
time it's only with you. It's These are
Okay.
the only two times. So like that's very serendipitous. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
definitely meaning
Yeah.
something there.
Yeah.
So, but today's topic is around visions of the new year and kind
Mhm.
of how we're feeling going into 2025. Also how we're leaving 2024 and kind of a bit of reflecting on, the craziness of the past year. And I also wanted to kind of get into, our own intentions and go from a personal place, but also for the collective as well. And um, yeah, I'm like just ready to hand over the mic to you, and you take this wherever you feel called to.
Wow. So cool. Choose your own adventure.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in terms of where I see us going in 2025, I see sort of what's already begun as
Mm,
expanding more.
yeah.
And in particular, relating to consciousness expansion. I see, just within the work that I'm doing, with so many beauties that I sit with, workshops I host, things like that. I am very aware of sort of a collective download around leaving some of the narratives that we've had to be in to
Mm,
identify what is not love, to
yeah.
identify pathology and inversion,
Mm,
which is the basis of this realm, right?
yeah.
Because how are we going to experience what is love and return to source, us
Mm,
being source, return
yeah.
to ourselves, right? If not experiencing the opposite, right?
Yeah.
This is how we can start to see what is love through that contrast. And so we've had to focus a lot on what is not love.
Mm,
I know myself for many years, I worked with people healing from narcissistic abuse, things like
yeah.
that. Lots of narratives that, again, were very useful in
Mm,
helping us identify how we have been leading, how systems are constructed, how wounds and trauma play out through our mental holography. Very,
mm,
very useful. But what I have been witnessing is a shift from that into more of an empowered place. So moving from a potential trap, really, because we could get stuck inside of a sort of victim consciousness there, right?
yeah.
Moving from a potential trap into an expansion of, okay, now that I know what this place is, now that I
mm,
know who I am, let's see what we can do, you know?
mm, yeah,
And so that's been really beautiful to witness. I've seen a lot of breakthroughs happening for people. Not to say that no traumas, residual trauma experiences are coming up. In fact, it's the opposite.
mm,
Um, and I see this happening more in 2025, is being
yeah,
able to identify
mm,
the mental holography, the way the lower mind is leading us in creating our
mm,
interpretations and our perceptions of
yeah,
ourselves, and then how that leads to experiences with others. So, really, I'm talking about the journey from the mind to the heart, which
yeah.
is alchemy. It's the labyrinth. You remember, did you see the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie? Did you ever see that?
No, I didn't know
Yeah.
David Bowie acted in a movie.
Yeah. Highly
Oh my God.
recommend. That one's from my childhood.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there's so many codes and clues
yeah,
dropped in film, right?
mm,
But the return to source is all about returning to our heart space because that's the
mm,
portal, right? It's this electromagnetic toroidal field.
mm,
Um, and so we have to make that long journey, and it is a long
mm,
journey from the
mm,
lower mind to the heart. And I'm making a distinction between the lower mind and the higher mind, right? Because the higher
yeah,
mind is our knowing and our remembrance of who we are, and not to pathologize our lower mind. It's the opposite. We need to love it. We need to have
yeah,
compassion and understanding for how our holography was created, but we
mm,
do need to parent it from our higher
yeah,
mind and from our remembrance of our abilities and our power here. And of
yeah,
course, that's all about the heart. Because if I'm
mm,
in fear, if I'm afraid you're going to hurt me, or I'm going to be a victim to you in some way, or your holography is going to interact with mine in a way that is very detrimental to me, I'm not going to be able to be in my heart with you.
yeah,
So I have to trust, I have to have courage. And I love that word.
mm.
Cœur is heart, right? In French.
Ah, okay.
So this is really coming back into a remembrance of our power, and that's what I see happening more deeply in 2025 for many. And I see many on a fast track, people that just woke up even a couple years ago, that
Yeah,
they blow my mind. And I have so much respect, for the amount of work that is being done in these spaces.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really resonate with everything that you've said so far. Like 2024 was so deep for like a lot of people. It was deep for me, it was deep for a lot of people, and you know, deep in the sense of, yeah, going through sometimes a bit more of a negative emotional, like sometimes traumatic like time.
Yes.
And it was really, for me it was very interesting because like 2024 was objectively like the best year of my life. That's when I started traveling, like from January all the way until the last day. I was traveling like the whole year pretty much.
Yeah.
But you know, in during it was really hard, and it was like I went through some seriously like traumatic stuff, and like it was so
Yeah.
unexpected, and
Yeah.
um it was very painful at many points.
Mm-hmm.
And um yeah, I found myself kind of going into sometimes a victim mentality, and
Mm-hmm.
um
Yep.
other times just like believing doubt and believing the negative lower mind and the ego, and running with that for a long time. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
myself like, because I was traveling, I was running away. It was so easy for me to run away because I was traveling. So it was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I'm done here. I'm just going to head on to the next place. And
Yeah.
yeah, so 2025 definitely feels like um, almost a reset from that, and like a chance to slow down and
Mm-hmm.
travel a different way, and like
Mm.
kind of be a bit more in my power and choose the heart. And yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
really agree. I resonate with
Mm.
that. on a personal level so much
Yeah,
because
I can see how, traveling itself, right? Like
mm,
you're literally traveling,
yeah,
literally.
yeah,
And so the emphasis on the journey from the mind to
yeah,
the heart inside of that space of you actually literally traveling.
yeah,
Because both is happening,
yeah.
right? It's happening like
Oh,
in
yeah,
your realm, literally, and it's
yeah,
also happening within.
yeah.
And one of the themes for myself this past year, and that I've witnessed in many others as well, is fire energy.
Mm,
So, as I call it, being forged in the fire, in
yeah,
alchemy, we work with all elements,
yeah,
and there's been a lot of fire forging going on
yeah.
in
Oh,
people's
yeah,
realities. So, it's sort of like
yeah.
anything in us that we couldn't see before,
Yeah.
because you can't see when you're in the dark, that
Mm,
is non-beneficial, that is not in our hearts, had to be shown to us in a way, I like to say, you know, I have a knowing for myself that I wrote in certain events to
mm,
happen if I was stuck in some way.
yeah.
Like if I was stuck, if I was in some mental room where it was preventing me from getting to my heart space, then this can happen or this can happen, this can come in so that
Mm,
I could be assisted to make that journey,
yeah.
and that's definitely how I experienced it. And so many around me experienced it as well. It was like this push, like, okay, come
Yeah.
on, let's bring in some fire now. Let's bring in some fire, time to
Yeah.
burn up all that is not you, that you
Yeah.
can't burn away if you don't know it's not you,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So things will happen to show you, right? And you'll know because of
Mm,
the tension
yeah.
and the fear
Oh,
and
yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
then you have to say, what is this showing me about myself that is not
Yeah.
actually me,
Yeah.
you know?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think also something that I need to remind myself, and this is a message also for those listening, like it it is so much, the process is so much longer than a year. Like I think sometimes I get in this headspace of like 2025 is going to be the year that I do this and like, you know, I have all these goals and I have all these intentions and I go out and I try and do them. But
Mm-hmm.
this idea that it's all going to happen in 1 year is very unrealistic. And you will get
Yeah.
so much further, like you'll make so much progress, 100%, and you'll be in a much better place. But expecting everything to be solved and everything to be fixed and like, because I'm the type of person, oh yeah, give me the fire. We're talking about the fire energy. Give me the fire, burn me alive in the forge, get rid of everything, right? I
Yeah.
surrender myself, and then it happens, and I leave that, and I'm like, oh my God, I need another year just to process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
honestly, so
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean,
it's
it's a reflection
process.
of how far we have forgotten, how far
Mm,
we've fallen, if you will, into
yeah,
this sine wave, this
mm,
this density,
yeah,
right? And I mean, we're talking about like not just your life or my life, we're talking about generations and generations, we're talking about ages,
yeah,
where, once we knew what this place was, and then we move into a space where we keep forgetting and forgetting and forgetting more deeply and more deeply, more deeply.
mm,
So there's a lot of remembrance, right?
yeah,
To happen there for
yeah,
ourselves and collectively. Yeah.
yeah. I also wanted to ask, like, 2024 was such a big year, and we were kind of talking a little bit before we pressed live about the time speeding up and
Mm,
how fast things are going. And I guess I wanted to talk about that a bit more because I I want to understand it a little bit more on my end because I know about like time speeding up and frequencies and like the energies growing like more and more and more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like it's kind of the information is more like here for me and it hasn't like sunk in. So I guess I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to ask you a bit more about that and talk about that a bit more about like the speeding up aspect and yeah,
Yeah.
what that's looking like in also in 2025 too.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like, there's kind of two places we could take that. We could go down the
Mm,
path of like the individual experience of time,
yeah.
and then there's also the collective experience, right? So I'm going to
Okay.
start more with the individual.
Yeah.
So my gnosis around this is that the reason we're experiencing time is going so much more quickly is
Mm,
because the process within ourselves is happening so much more quickly. Okay.
mm,
And I can just say, from experience, I mean, I remember, when I first began to awaken, it's like, looking back in comparison, it would be like walking through mud to get to a place where I felt I had had a breakthrough or a level up. Um,
mm,
and versus now, processes will just happen much more quickly. Now we could argue and say, well, Michelle, maybe that's because of like practice and, okay,
mm,
maybe perhaps, being on this path for a while. But I've
yeah.
seen it happening again with people who just woke up even like a year ago. Like it's
Yeah.
just things are just happening much more quickly. And so my point is, I feel that the energies are very supportive of
Mm,
of a faster process. And I feel that that's because if there was any way where energetically, it's sort of like what I was saying before, anything was lagging. We were inside of a blind spot. We were inside of an illusion. We weren't
mm,
seeing something clearly about ourselves. It's got to go. We got to
yeah.
see. We must see clearly now. And so, yeah, like the frequencies that are coming in are assisting us in that internal experience of time speeding up, which,
Mm,
like you pointed out, can also sometimes be experienced as like added layers of trauma because things are happening so quickly, breakthroughs are
mm,
happening so quickly as catalyzed by tension, right?
mm,
And so the tension is going to be experienced as traumatic in some way, right?
mm,
And so then at the same time, we're processing that, we're processing these new experiences and also learning how to interpret them and what they
mm,
mean, right?
yeah.
So that's sort of the personal experience of it. Collectively, it's almost like if we look at it micro, macro, it's reflecting,
Mm,
right? It's
mm,
reflecting. So on the macro, like there's so much stuff happening like all the time. I remember years where I was like, "Oh my God, like can I poke this place with a stick? Like something happened. Do something." You know, to the point where when 2020 happened, there was a
mm,
part of me that was like, "Thank God, like something's going to
mm,
happen." Like I didn't know
yeah.
exactly where we were going to go with it, and it
Mm,
was sort of, edge of our seats, right?
mm,
But there was a feeling of relief that like, oh,
mm,
finally something is happening.
yeah.
And so that has just sped up. It's like now things are always happening. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I'm not looking at the news or anything like that. But, information comes in, through
Oh yeah.
through different ways.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, like there is so much crap happening and it's waking
Yeah.
up so many people
Yeah.
on various levels, right? Where
Yeah.
people are starting to question things and just starting to question the nature of reality and things like
Yeah.
that.
It's actually wild to me because even me, like I'm only 21 and I remember because I've always been a conspiracy gal. I always loved a good conspiracy. But even in high school, like when I was 15, I would try and talk about it to my friends. And at the time, I was I was almost bringing it up as a joke because
Yeah.
I never really like it was a fun thing for me. I never like
Yeah.
it wasn't very serious. it was always just a fun piece of conversation. So I'd bring up things about the moon landing, or I'd bring up things about, CIA documents or like something like that. And people would be looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Even 15-year-olds like looking at me
Yeah.
like that. And I was bringing it up as like almost as a half joke, like just as a
Yeah.
piece of conversation. And now um it's so different. I'm like, I'll talk to people and it's a deep conversation, and with interest and questions and like back and forth and our own theories, and like or total agreement, like, oh yeah, like,
Mhm.
oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Heard about that. And so it's it's the world has shifted so dramatically. I think the internet has a big part to play, especially in my
Yeah.
generation as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Social media for sure.
Social media, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why things feel like they're going so much quicker. But I've noticed specifically since 2020, like, I can't believe it's 2025 now, because that means in 2 months, COVID would have been 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
that's like not in my head. COVID was like 1 year ago, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Like it, not even. Like it's just so wild, but so much has happened
Yes.
in between there. Like
Yeah.
it's just crazy. And also for you, because you're in the US, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, you're like in the eye of the storm, like you're in the middle of it all. I bet it's
Am
like,
I? I don't know. Is
well, yeah,
that,
you don't know, yeah, I guess, because you don't want. I mean, it's you're as far as like the news or like the
yeah.
programs like to say, and
Yeah.
like the political scene, I
Yeah.
guess.
The political scene and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it would be kind of interesting. Like, I want to go to the US really badly just to see what it's like and talk to the people and be there,
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like a very interesting place to be at the moment with
Mm.
everything going on. I don't know,
It's
but
interesting because, I would say if it wasn't for social media, um, I wouldn't know that
yeah,
there was a major consciousness expansion happening.
yeah,
Um, in terms of like if I leave my house and I go to town, or I'm like
yeah,
just out in the world. Now, of course, the work I do, I'm always immersed in conversations related to consciousness, just
yeah,
because of the nature. So that's like where I live. But if I just go out into the world and I go to the grocery store or something, you know what I mean? Like you
yeah.
wouldn't necessarily know. But social media shows us
Mm,
um, that there is a lot happening and that a lot of people have awareness.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I think that within the United States itself,
mm,
um, you pointed this out before, it's the political arena that
yeah,
is inspiring a lot of it as well, right? A lot of this
yeah,
sort of questioning.
yeah.
Um, I'm very interested again in 2025 to um, see how deeply we're going to be able to take this consciousness expansion. And
Mm,
by that, I mean,
mm.
you know, when I was a kid, nobody cared about anything, other than their 50-foot radius,
Yeah,
what we're going to do this weekend, um, you know, what we're going to do for this birthday or, that type
mm,
of thing.
yeah,
And now, like you pointed out, because of information sharing, there is a lot more knowledge, I think, that is sort of spreading more quickly.
mm,
But a lot of the knowledge is still like on an exoteric level, which
mm,
exoteric just refers to, readily available in the mainstream, right?
yeah,
Because what is available now in the mainstream was not available in the mainstream, 20
yeah,
years ago or 10 years ago.
yeah,
Um, And so, on an exoteric level, a lot of people have access to new information, the spread of videos, eyewitness accounts, things like that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that's still exoteric, right? And then we have the
Yeah.
mesoteric level of knowledge, which is where we're starting to bring it a little deeper than that. And it's like,
Mm.
okay, I'm waking up to the world and I have access to mainstream information, but what does this mean for me? What does this mean about like the nature of who I am or this realm, like where I am, right? And so it's a little more. And then
Mm.
we go into esoteric knowledge, which is
Yeah.
knowing, like through direct experiences,
Yeah.
our spiritual events, our synchronicities, awareness of the magic,
Mm.
crown chakra, third eye stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we just have direct access to knowledge ourselves and things like that, which of course, you know, as we do the healing work, the inner work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more access we have to that sort of knowledge. So
Yeah.
very interested in seeing, just sort of a progression on a larger collective level from the exoteric, mesoteric into the esoteric. And I think that is going to happen more in
Yeah.
2025, even if we look at things like, are you familiar with like the telepathy tapes? It's like a really famous podcast right
Oh,
now.
no, no, I haven't, but
Okay.
yeah, I feel like, well, just telepathy in general, I feel like is becoming a bit more of uh, I don't know, mainstream thing, and like
Yeah.
people are interested in it a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that
Yeah.
really tells us like things are happening, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just amazing to me the people that have mentioned the telepathy tapes to me, which is basically just in a nutshell. It's sort of like a documentary on nonverbal autistic children and how they meet. Um,
No
and
way.
they have conversations telepathically. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually only listened to
That's
one episode just because I wanted to get a feel, but there's a ton of episodes. But in the
wow.
episode that I listened to, they were making a connection between being a savant and these abilities. And it was like, okay, we're not
Wow.
quite there because this has nothing to do with being a savant. This is
Mm.
actually our divine birthright. We are all
Yeah.
capable of this, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah. Yeah.
asking the questions and we're talking about the
Yeah.
possibilities,
It's a
right?
step, you
Yeah.
know, we're only humans,
Yeah.
we're slow moving sometimes. It
Right.
takes us a while.
Right. 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 Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
yeah, I think telepathy, one thing that came to me, because one of my challenges of 2024 was my phone addiction, and I was on my phone a bit too much, particularly on like the doom scrolling side of things, and like, all
Yes.
the reels and the YouTube shorts and all that, and TikTok and stuff.
Yes.
Um and but there's like a lot of trends that pop up, and it's actually really crazy, and I honestly believe that it's like there's going to be studies on my generation of all the brain damage of how fast the trends are and how quickly everything is and our attention
Yeah.
spans. But anyway, there was
Yeah.
this one trend about twin telepathy, and it was just twins on like on social media. Like you would get two twins and you would put a wall between them, and you would ask them spin, touch your head, or like jump, or strike a pose. You would just like ask them just to do random things, and they
Yeah.
would do it the exact same way. Like the twins would do it
Uh,
exactly the same, and then you would get like, say, two random people to do it. So like maybe the a mum and a dad, or like just two siblings that aren't twins, and it would be very different. And it was only the twins that would do it the exact same. And so like
mm-hmm.
that was one of the like trends that was going on last year and stuff. And so I think, yeah,
Interesting.
um, it's interesting that even in such a, I guess, weird place you wouldn't expect, like these trends pop up and show us what
Yeah, for
we're kind of
sure.
like tapping into as a
For
collective.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
there's like a divine orchestration in that, right? It's like
mm,
everything's
yeah,
working together. Like
yeah,
let's highlight this. Let's look at this right now, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I see that a lot more for 2025. I don't know. I think every year that especially since 2020, every year is kind of just another step and another step and another step towards like we just make so much progress towards our inner selves and kind of that deeper interdimensional almost
Mm-hmm.
really cool spiritual place where yeah, people are just more open to those things and more connected and yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. And that's one thing I get excited about every year is just seeing how much more open we're becoming as people. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
because it's all about the remembrance of ourselves as
mm,
multidimensional beings,
yeah,
and it's like that we exist beyond the edge of our skin,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that was forgotten. It was very,
yeah,
very forgotten. And we're remembering now. And there's
yeah,
all kinds of ways to play with that and things that we
mm,
get to do. And, my gnosis around this is when this realm was first created, we knew that, we knew that
mm,
then. We were
yeah,
aware,
yeah,
and then that knowledge was forgotten,
yeah,
right? Now we're remembering it again. Yeah.
yeah. It's so exciting. I really yeah, I don't know. I'm just so looking forward to the day where, we come back to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and also, for me personally, when I figure, come back to completion or, whatever that looks like, because it's such a long thing, but it's so exciting every year getting a bit closer and finding a bit more of myself and losing a bit more of myself and then finding more of myself
Yeah.
again.
So remember too, it's just your lower mind that hasn't hooked
Mm,
into your cohesiveness. It's
yeah,
always there. You're
yeah,
already 100% complete,
mm,
it's always
yes,
there. It's the mind that remembers more and more deeply and pulls
yeah,
in that remembrance more and more deeply.
yeah.
But it's
I
always there.
Yeah, it is always there. No, that's very true. And w-
Yeah.
it's really it's really important to remember that we can tap into it anytime. Like sometimes all it
Hmm.
takes is just meditating for a few
Hmm.
minutes and just finding that source connection. I haven't
Hmm.
done that in a while actually, but yeah, I would always do that. Especially in lockdown, anytime I got super scared or was feeling really afraid in lockdown, I would just meditate and go back to source and I would be fine again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool tool. I need to start doing that again actually, because yeah, traveling I've like not really meditated because it's just so my mind is kind of on I can't like sit still basically. I feel like I have
Yeah.
temporary ADHD just because I'm so fast paced. I'm so used to being fast paced. So yeah,
Hmm.
I've just settled down in Scotland. So 2025 is going to be at least the first half of this year is going to be super amazing for my mental state because I'm finally stood still and I have
Yes.
mountains all around me that I can go hike and yeah, it's like I'm very
So you've
excited. So
settled in a specific place and you
yeah,
plan on being there for a period of time.
yes. So yeah, and I'm really like 2025 for me is um and something that I also think as a collective would be like really beneficial and I hope to see more people go down this path is going into creativity a lot more and spending time creating things. Like
Hmm.
I have a lot of goals. I want to knit some new like flows and crochet as well. And I want to start writing a book. And oh my God, there's so many. I'm like hoping to teach yoga for the first time since I got my qualification. So I'm going to start creating classes and like flows, yoga flows and stuff. So
Nice.
a lot about my creativity this year and I'm really excited because as I've been traveling, like the biggest thing that I missed was having all my hobbies and being able to like sit down and do some crafts and
Yes.
that kind of thing, because couldn't really do that living out of a backpack.
No,
Like,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
so
Your
um
source stream is so happy
yeah, yeah,
because that's what you want to experience here
mm, yeah,
is, you know, matter, the density here makes these things possible, to hold
mm,
the wool in your fingers and the needles and then
yeah,
turn it into something, right? That's alchemy.
yeah,
Everything
yeah,
that we create is alchemy. And that's
yeah,
what your source stream wants to experience here,
yeah,
So
definitely.
that's so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I get really excited about that kind of stuff and cooking my own meals. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is such a big thing, and I'm so grateful. That's like such a gratitude thing for me, is being able to cook my own meals, because I didn't have a kitchen for a long time, or when I
Mm-hmm.
did, it was like a hostel kitchen, and so
Uh-huh.
they're not great. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been baking brownies and cookies and um yeah, making curries and stir fries and stuff. So yeah, a lot about creativity and creating things out of my own like hands, and yeah, alchemy, as you said. I love the word alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
Um and yeah, also as you were saying at the start of the episode about kind of, I forgot how you worded it, but coming back to ourselves and our power, and like
Mm-hmm.
choosing ourselves and overcoming that, you know, for example, narcissistic like abuse, or whatever challenges that we face, and coming back to ourselves. And yeah, I find that as um such a deep lesson for me this year. And because, well, one thing, I was struggling finding a job,
Mm-hmm.
and so but I I knew that there was a few places in town that were looking, but I'd been there, and it was like not a great place to work. And
Mm-hmm.
2024 me, or like the beginning of 2024 me, would have definitely just done it, because I'm like, I need money, I need a job, like I don't care. And I would have applied, and I would have gotten that job, and hated every second. But
Mm-hmm.
this time I didn't, and I chose my power, and I chose to wait and not act from desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm so grateful that I did, because it's led me to choose teaching yoga. And also another job opportunity came up of working at a refillery, like basically bulk food shop that like is zero waste and stuff. So
Okay.
hopefully I'll have that job soon. I went in for an interview today, and it is looking very promising. That's just one example of, yeah,
Yeah.
going into this year, choosing my power. And I encourage everyone else to do the same, because
Yeah.
it's so scary initially. Like, I thought I was insane for not taking a job just because I didn't like it or didn't want to work there. I'm like, I should not be thinking like that. Like, I need a job, I need money, like who cares? But I didn't, because I was like, no, I want this experience to be different. I don't want to go to my job and
Bingo.
hating it every time. Yeah, because I
Bingo.
know what that's like. I've already done that. I've already been
Bingo.
there. I've already
Mm-hmm.
chosen a job out of desperation, and I
Yep.
hated it, and it was horrible. And so I
Yep.
didn't want to do that again. And yeah, I'm going into this year in a very different place, and it was really scary for quite a few months, to be honest. I've been here like 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So um and yeah, it wasn't easy. Like, I, I'm talking like I have a job. I don't, but I believe I do. I do have a job, but it's just not officially stated yet. But yeah, I it was pretty hard for like 6 weeks. But yeah, I really resonate with what you were saying about how this year's about choosing your power, and
Yeah.
yeah,
If you
overcoming
know
those
you have a
patterns.
job, then you do have a job.
Yes. I do
And
have a job.
even if it's not that one, there's going to
Yeah.
be another one that's more perfect tomorrow
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Exactly.
because because you're willing it to be
Yeah.
and you're choosing from your power and your will,
Mm,
right? As opposed to fear.
yeah.
But what I
Yeah.
love so
Exactly.
much that you said about all of that was you're talking about wisdom because you were able to identify a pattern or a cycle
Mm,
that wasn't serving,
yeah.
right? And it might have served in the past because maybe you learned, right?
Yeah.
Something in those spaces. But
Mm,
it's like, I don't really want to have that experience anymore. I know already what that's about and where
yeah.
that's coming from in me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's a pattern. I'm recognizing it and I'm going to
Yeah.
choose a different energy.
Yeah.
And what's really useful is being able to identify the energy that we chose from previously, which is often fear, related to fear in some way, fear
Mm,
holography, shame holography, right?
yeah.
All the lies that tell us who we are,
Yeah.
lies,
Yeah.
right? And so identifying that energy and then asking ourselves, what would a more beneficial energy be? What
Mm,
feels more like love, right?
yeah.
And then moving from that space.
Yeah.
And 100%, like even if you haven't actually gotten, the signed, sealed, and delivered,
Yeah.
job contract or whatever, if you know that you're going to get a
Yeah.
job that resonates for you and that you can really bring yourself to, and that
Mm,
lights your fire, then you will,
yeah. Yeah.
because you will make
Exactly.
that happen because
Yeah.
that is what you are choosing.
Mm, yeah. It's so hard though. I think like this is the first time where I I'm choosing my words because I was going to say that I am alone, but I'm not alone. This is the first time where I am a bit more isolated and far
Mm-hmm.
away from home
Mm-hmm.
because, yeah, I'm in Scotland, I'm in a tiny town, and I moved here not knowing anybody. And
Yeah.
so it was really scary to, I don't know, I understand a lot more about why people choose that that choice, and I've chosen that choice before when I was at home not paying any rent and had family to support me and was definitely very much surrounded by friends and stuff, and I still
Yeah.
chose a path of like doing a job that I didn't enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this time was way harder, and it was like this energy took over me, and it was just telling me, don't rush into don't choose something out of fear, basically. Like, don't make
Yeah.
a choice out of fear. And I think that's what happens when you hold intention. So I came here with an intention to live a very specific way and find peace and have time to process everything I've gone through and all the travels and all the lessons and receive everything that I can and
Yes.
have some peace.
Yes.
And so, yeah,
I'm
I
sort
was,
of chuckling in that space because,
yeah,
well, a couple things. First of all,
yeah,
major archetypal vibes coming through of the Fool, right?
yeah,
Which is like one of my favorite tarot cards, one of my
yeah,
favorite archetypes, right?
yeah,
And I've been the Fool so many times. I
yeah,
have played that character and it was always perfect and brought me exactly where I needed to go.
yeah,
We can also relate the Fool to the hero and the hero's journey. We have no
mm-hmm,
idea where we're going, right? But we
yeah,
set out, we
yeah,
answer the call,
yeah,
which then brings me to why I was chuckling because I have a I have a meme that I created. I
yeah,
think it was like 2015 or something. It says something like, when we revealed to the universe our resolve to be in truth, the universe nodded its massive head, and now the truths all know where we live.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what it says after that, but it ends with something like it's something about like how we'll capsize in the water and drag. It's very dramatic. And then we drag our perfect limp bodies to the shore, gasping and grateful. It's something like that. Because
Yeah.
what I'm trying to highlight here in a very roundabout way is when we are sincere, you
Mm,
know, and when we put out there, to source, to ourselves, because we are source, I'm ready for this.
mm,
I am in service here. I want to know the truth. I want to connect to myself. I want to remember. Oh, you'll be given what you need,
mm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's so beautiful to now be in a space where you've sort of been, it feels like you've been through like a lot of that energy, right?
Hmm.
Given all the remembrances, things like that, and now you're settling down, and now you're going to come back into the world. I'm
Yeah.
using the hero's journey model right now, right? Come back
Yeah.
into the world with the knowledge
Love
you've
it.
gained,
Yeah.
right? And from there on out, we always have one foot in this world and one foot in another, you know?
Mm,
It's so
yeah.
important to stay grounded because this is where we
Yeah.
are, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. It's I'm very I'm very grateful for where I've been and where I am now. Like it's definitely intense, but yeah, I feel like that limp body dragging myself to shore.
Yeah.
Grateful. Yeah, gasping and grateful.
Yes, been and grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I had one other question, and that was kind of um on your personal level, which also reflects the collective as it always does. What is your intentions for 2025? And you can go, you don't have to go very personal, make it as broad as you want. But yeah, like what
Hmm.
is your intentions coming into this year?
Okay, that's a really beautiful question.
Mm,
So for me, it is about um, opening to the possibility of leading from right action through my heart space more deeply
mm,
than ever before.
yeah.
And I say it like that because 2024 was a major year for me of sort of lessons, if you will, in
Mm,
places that I was still operating from fear.
yeah.
I was majorly schooled in the nuance of healthy, masculine integrated, air and fire energy and alchemy, masculine
Mm,
energy boundaries
yeah.
versus um, wounded maiden feminine energy, righteous protection and boundaries. Okay.
Mm.
It's very, and I'm not going to go, that would be a whole other show. But I was very, very schooled in the nuance
Hmm.
and did a ton of alchemy work this year.
Yeah.
This past year, I think I have done more alchemy work than probably the 10 years combined prior
Wow.
because of
Okay.
events that pushed me into it to catalyze me.
Wow.
Really a space of desperation, if you will, because of how
Yeah.
I was still stuck inside of my own mental holography.
Yeah.
And through that process, I was led to my heart, and my heart opened in ways that I'm so grateful for. Um, Unity consciousness integration,
Hmm.
truly seeing you as me and me as
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
a depth of forgiveness for people and situations that I had not accessed previously, and not any I'm not talking from a place of nonsense or love and light crap. I mean, like
Mm,
genuine, sincere release of
mm.
contempt, bitterness,
Yeah.
anger, emotions like that um, inside certain situations with certain people,
Yeah.
I just was having a very difficult time releasing. And so the events that happened for me this past year, which were actually very hyperdimensional, was actually interactions with hyperdimensional interference
Yeah.
that, I mean, I was literally like the main character in a horror movie, basically, while still
Oh God.
showing up in every way for my
Yeah.
clients, my children, my family, my animals, everything that everything that I love and care for. And it helped me remember on a level so deep who I am and what I'm capable of from my heart
Yeah.
space. I was also schooled in a couple ways in terms of my work where it was interesting. I was actually sent, so you have awareness probably that my education is in clinical mental health counseling,
Mhm.
but I am not a licensed therapist. I choose not to work in the clinical realm. Okay. I
Yeah.
choose to work beyond it,
Yeah.
outside of it. But I was also in various ways pushed into the system
Hmm.
to work there with other actually licensed, clinical therapists, um, and awareness for my judgments, my contraction in that space, my resistance, but then doing that work and opening my heart and going into the space and seeing what happened there and seeing the work that I actually did there. I feel like I did some of the most meaningful work yet in those
Wow.
spaces and seeing what happened like for those families. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very general here.
Yeah.
Um, and then ended up working with other families through those situations, and it was really loaded. So there was a lot of trusting, trust
Mm.
that, you know, what I'm given is
Yeah.
exactly where I'm supposed to be. And if there's any judgment or fear around those spaces, it's something to go within about. So, just deeper trust for me in 2025, although I feel like I've accessed so much of it, but bring me more, bring me more. Because really what it's about is trust for self,
Mm. Yeah.
trust for self, and knowing that when I'm in my heart space, everything that is meant to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
So just being present inside of that unity consciousness, loving, um, and yeah, seeing what that looks like this year. Because I feel like I just sort of got my real first taste of it this
Yeah.
past
Wow.
year, and just how beautiful and expansive those energies can be. So yeah,
Mm. Beautiful intentions. So you're going, you're definitely like with that load of intentions, that's like the best fuel, like to catapult you as far as possible. Like, yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. So I'm excited for you for 2025.
and
I
how about
wanted to,
you?
oh, me, oh gosh. Oh, I want to have more positivity. I think this past year kind of taught me that I lived my dream last year, but there was still so many points where I wasn't happy, and it was a big lesson in learning. I don't know. I like, yeah, learning, okay, I've got my dream. Now, how do I be happy? Because sometimes it is more than just, it's a lot deeper than I thought it was going to be. I thought, oh,
For
once I
sure.
travel, I'll be fine. I'll be my best self. I'll be happy. Everything will be great.
Yep.
But that was not at all what happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had the best time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there is no doubt about it. And I have no regrets.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think, yeah, there was just so much that I went through, and I got out of it in a pretty negative mindset, and focusing a lot on the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I want to focus more on the positives. And I think I don't know, I have this feeling that that's the way that I can heal from the trauma instead of
Mm-hmm.
hyperfixating on the trauma like I have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I say trauma like it was super bad. It wasn't. It was just a lot of accumulative things that have
Yeah.
kind of piled up.
Yes.
And yeah, so I want to come into 2025 in a more positive space, and very similar to you, when you're talking about the truth and trusting myself, and yeah, finding that trust for myself and trusting the universe
Mm-hmm.
that um yeah, as long as I'm following my heart, it will lead me to where I need to be. I have
Mm-hmm.
I want to do some like cool handstands by the end of the year. I want to like be able to
Yeah.
do some cool yoga poses and like do some pretty cool handstands and get more strong and
Yeah.
flexible.
Have some fun with
Um,
the avatar. See what your
yes,
body can do. Yep.
yes.
Cool.
I want to get uh I also want to get my like I want to find my style and my like form of clothes, because I've spent the
Hmm.
last few years following many different like styles and like trying to find my one, but I haven't really found my exact one because
Mm.
it just changes all the time.
Oh, I
So I'd
love
like to
that for
find
you.
some,
I love
yeah, I'd
that.
like
I
to,
love that for
yeah.
you.
I don't know, because I love clothes. I
Yeah.
love, but that's why I want to make them, because
Hmm.
I think once I
Yes.
make them, then
Yes.
I'll like that will be my
Yes.
style, because
Because your
it will
source
be
stream will
me.
funnel through and create. Yeah.
Mm,
And then you'll get to
yeah.
represent your,
Yes.
the beauty of it is you're individuated here.
Yeah.
Right? You're
Yeah.
individual. When we go up high enough, we're all one. The more we come down in density through dimensions, the more polarized, the more we individuate, so that we can experience that individuation as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
else? Nature. I'm living
Uh-huh.
in such a nature heavy place, and
Mm-hmm.
it I haven't fully processed this, but like I have wanted to live in a place like this for probably forever. Like ever since I was born, to be honest. And like when I really think about it, and I really hope that, like, my biggest intention is I leave here knowing that I spent every moment I could enjoying it and being in this environment, and
Mm-hmm.
being in the river and hiking up the mountains. And I just brought my bike with me. So I have my bike to ride around to a little bit out of town. So being in nature and like really feeling connected and dealing with my fear about nature, because I still have some fear about like bugs and
Mm-hmm.
creepy crawlies and that kind of thing. So I want to leave this year not afraid
Mm-hmm.
of like bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a lot of um yeah, I have a lot of like intentions and a lot of goals and stuff. So I'm pretty excited about this year and how I'm
It
starting
has
off.
a theme. It has a theme, which is
Yeah.
all a deeper remembrance of your
Mm,
source stream.
yeah.
Right? Because even the nature thing, like you are nature, you are earth, air,
Yeah.
water, and fire, which
Yeah.
combined is the prima materia, the ether. You are
Yeah.
nature. You're all nature, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when we're connecting with the different elements, and if we're working with them in alchemy as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
we're
say
bringing in
alchemy,
that
it's
deeper
really
remembrance.
triggered the word alchemy. I'm going to look into that a bit more and do
Hmm.
some alchemy work. So this
Yeah,
year, yeah, I don't even know what
beautiful.
that is, but I will be doing it. So,
Cool, cool. Well, if you want any pointers, reach out.
okay, I will do. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm feeling very excited for myself to experience this year, and
Yeah.
like where I'm gonna go. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I feel really grateful. So
So
I'm kind
cheers to a deeper experience of you,
yes. What
right?
did you say? Source.
Oh, source stream.
Yes.
It's just it's my sort of phrase, if you will,
Yeah.
for the fractal of source that you be
Yeah. Yeah. I love
um
that.
in
I fully
this
agree with that.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, that phrase will be going on my vision board. So I'm
Cool.
currently in the process of making my
Cool.
vision board. So
Nice.
thanks
No,
for that. Awesome.
my
Well,
pleasure.
thank you so much for coming on today. And would I once again love to have you on soon. So hopefully with mum this time, because I think the past two times
Yeah.
mum was out. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, thank you for
but
having me. I love chatting with you. Love
yes.
coming on She's of Love. I love both you beautiful women. So yeah, thanks for asking me
Oh,
on.
always, always. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching. And we'll see you next week. And I'm feeling very fulfilled and very full. So yeah,
Lovely.
I am so grateful for you. So thank you. Mwah. And we'll talk soon. So yeah, bye everyone.
Okay.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
See